So the last couple of days has been teeming with new announcements on new movies and IPs from various studios, and of course, one of the latest that really caught the ire of some people on the internet is the live-action adaptation for How to Train Your Dragon. What's up, girls and boys? What's up, internet? I am Vianca, and for today, I want to talk about this franchise that I love so much and of the live-action adaptation of it that recently released its first trailer.
It's a teaser.
As well as a sneak peek behind the scenes of said movie. Now, there are some noise going around because of the trailer, complaints that I wish to share my 2 cents of on this video. These are, of course, my honest thoughts about it, especially on a franchise that I really love so much.
Alright, let's hear it.
A lot of people, for instance, are saying that based from the trailer that we got, it looked like a shot-for-shot of the animated movie, which they are correct with a couple of differences, like toothless eyes not being that feral in this shot.
Seriously? Yeah.
And this is one of those complaints that really got me scratching my head at why they are up to arms about it. Because there have been a slew of live action remakes and adaptations, and some of them are good enough, while others are questionable and have a lead that really doesn't fit with even the title of the movie they are making, to the point where it almost feels satirical in a way. So there's already been a lot of live action adaptations, and what the most prevalent criticism for them is how they do not follow the original. And now we do have this new one in How to Train Your Dragon that does stay true on this pivotal scene that we saw in the trailer, and some people are still complaining? Like, what? It must be said, however, that one of the directors of this franchise itself, Dean Dubois, had already stated on the record that what they did was stay true to the animated movie's key moments and not do a one-for-one adaptation of the movie, which is fair and something that made me feel even more excited about it. Now, another complaint that came about in line with the first is why there is a need to make a live adaptation of How to Train Your Dragon.
That's a good question.
Well, it has been more than a decade since the first movie was released, and although that really isn't even that long a time, you also have to account, at least I personally think so, several things when it comes to live adaptations of movies. First of all, there are some people who find that watching animated movies are childish. They believe they are childish and would not wish to see an animated movie, or they simply do not want to watch an animated movie just because. Live action adaptations give those people who may not like watching animated movies a chance to experience, get to know, and fall in love with a franchise. It also gives those of us who are already fans a new way to celebrate the franchise, to reminisce, and to go back into the world that we may have fallen in love with the characters whose stories we feel like we have become a part of. Sometimes, or most often than not actually, these movies are not just about the ones who had been fans for as long as the franchise has been established. Sometimes it is also about reintroducing it to the people who would, know of it but not necessarily have seen it or understood the appeal of it, giving them a chance to enjoy it for themselves. Or to the people who may have heard of it before, but because they didn't pay it any mind because it was not in a medium that they are particularly fond of, Or maybe it's for the people who may not even have heard of the franchise before. And it is also with this in mind that I feel like staying true to the pivotal and key moments that define the movie or a character is a must for a live action adaptation, as is adding some things to flesh out a scene or a character for reasons that they may not have the wherewithal to do it in the original. It is therefore as important as a perfect casting can be. Speaking of casting, this is where the bulk of the heat for this live action adaptation seems to be coming from, which isn't really a surprise to many, although the argument for this one is even more laughable than the Little Mermaid one.
Oh no, here we go again.
The casting issue that some people seem to have a beef with is one on the character of Astrid, originally voiced by America Ferrera and now being brought to life by Nico Parker, who, by the way, isn't even a character in the book. Astrid is non-existent in the book, okay? And, well, I don't think I need to point out why people are mad about this. I have to say, though, it is rather ironic that they are mad for historical accuracy at her being cast in this when she is a Scandinavian actress, and, well, the fact that they use that phrase on a movie with literal dragons in it. But then you'll hear them say she's not blonde, she doesn't have blue eyes, which is something that has no real bearing in the whole thing. Unlike the whole issue with Disney's live adaptation of Snow White, which I can't even begin to dissect how many things are wrong about it.
Okay, everything is wrong.
The thing is, the Vikings, they're not a race, they are a culture. A culture that, because of the way they lived and traveled, is mixed. Moreover, this version of the Viking culture is in a fantasy world, not in the real one, so historical accuracy doesn't really cut it. And before you go commenting about immersion, let me just point out that even the Thornton twins in this live adaptation looks nothing like the twins, and yet no one seems to be up in arms about that. So no, it's not really about immersion, is it? But here's the thing. While I personally do not find anything wrong with Nico Parker being cast here, since I do find her a talented actress and I do think that she will give this role justice, I do believe that there is something Hollywood needs to address, and that is, at the end of the day, race-swapping beloved characters for inclusivity and representation. I personally am not a fan of that. I think that if you want to be inclusive and to have movies with representation in them, then you would need to actually make new movies, new IPs for them, not remake or slap an actor or actress of color into it and call it a day. It feels more like you are just half-assing it than anything else if you do that. What true representation and inclusivity feels for me is to create something new that highlights a culture or a race and tells their story and have them be in it. Like how they did with the old animated movies like Mulan or Lilo and Stitch, or in newer ones even like Moana and Encanto. Heck, even Black Panther did it so well that it should be considered a blueprint for it. Because the world is full of various cultures from different races and colorful and uplifting stories that deserve to be told in a lens that is respectful to the race and the culture they are about, in a way that will educate people and throw the veil back and allow them to see that the world is big and vast and wonderfully diverse. Because what this whole race swapping thing just does is just pit people of different color and races against each other instead of letting movies be a bridge, as music is, to unite people regardless of race, sexual orientation, or creed, and let others understand that we as a human race have such a colorful and varied culture and that none is better than the other because each culture has something special and unique about them. And it feels like a bit of a disservice when, again, there's a plethora of original, untapped stories to be told, and you're picking one and just changing the color of the skin of one character and calling it a day. Personally, I think the controversies surrounding the new How to Train Your Dragon live adaptation, though, is just a lot of hogwash. Even the one regarding Nico is not one I feel like they are making because they are angry at the live adaptation not getting the characters right. I think at the end of the day, what these people need to do is open their eyes and maybe even learn a thing or two about what real Vikings are, about their culture, and see that the whole world is full of more color than just white. Or, make up their mind if they want adaptations to be true to the source or not. Or at the very least, if they don't like the movie or they don't like something about it, then just move on their merry little way and let those of us who do and are excited about it be. I am looking forward to this movie though. As I've said, I love the franchise. I always had. And if this movie brings about a new wave of fans, a new generation of fans that gets them interested and gets them to fall in love with the original animated series or movies, a series of movies rather, a new onslaught of merch because I never can get enough of Toothless, and a new way to experience Hiccup and Toothless's story, well, all the better. But hey, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you all for hearing me out and for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Until then, you guys know the drill. Dream on, fly on. Bye-bye for now. Keep safe, everyone, and remember to be kind to one another. See ya!